So, normally I read the whole series before I review a light novel, or at least everything that's been translated into English. For How to Love Your Elf Bride, I got fed up after just one volume. This is undoubtedly an unpopular opinion since it appears that this series has generally been reviewed pretty well, but here's why I think it's pure trash. Oh, and as a warning, this video will contain spoilers. So, what's the basic gist of Elf Bride's plot? Well, our protagonist, Zagan, is an angsty teenage sorcerer. Parentless, of course, because this type of character never has parents. He's aiming to become an Archdemon, or one of the top sorcerers in the world, because yay, power. Anyways, one day he goes to an auction, sees a beautiful elf girl, slave, falls in love with her at first sight, and spends his entire fortune on her. Then, since our protagonist and the elf Neffy are terribly socially awkward, we get a romantic comedy with them trying to convey their feelings to each other, along with a bit more of an action shonen style backdrop of Zagan fighting other sorcerers and the church. Apparently, in this world, the church has changed their refrain from burn the witch to slaughter the sorcerer. Anyways, all that sounds like a pretty decent premise, so what's wrong with it? Well, this type of story needs one of three things to carry it: an engaging romance, an interesting plot, or some quality comedy, and this series has none of those. Let's start with the romance, since really this should be the biggest selling point of the series. The problem is, Zagan and Neffy are just boring characters. Neffy's defining character trait is her devotion to Zagan, her desire to help Zagan, her desire to be close to Zagan. Take that away and what you have left? Well, she's shy and has big breasts, I guess? She kind of feels like what some guy who's never dated would picture as the ideal girl, and comes off as just really one-dimensional. Zagan is no better. He's sort of a gloomy, no one understands me type fellow, with the flimsy justification that someone once told him the strong cannot understand the feelings of the weak, and that hurt his feelings. Oh, and that for some strange reason, people are scared of him when he blasts other people with lightning. Fancy that. To be fair, Zagan does change. The vibe the author is going for is that these two individuals, deeply damaged by their upbringing, slowly help each other mend, which is a great idea. If only it wasn't betrayed by the pacing. The change of their hearts happens a bit too quickly, and some cringy dialogue along the way really doesn't help. Lines like, "But I think what I did cannot be forgiven." Who doesn't forgive you? That's everyone in the village. Aren't they dead? Forget about them. Yeah, that's great justification. Your actions, or lack thereof, resulted in a whole village of dead people. But who cares? They're dead now, so they won't be angry at you. The hell type of rationale is that? I mean, sure, you won't face any reprisals barring the existence of ghosts, but it doesn't mean what happened wasn't morally reprehensible. More generally, the pacing of the romance just feels off given the characters' personalities. Less than halfway through the first volume, we already have Neffy sitting on Zagan's lap and spoon-feeding him. This type of development would make sense if one of the two characters was bold and straightforward about their feelings. But given how awkward both of them are, it makes no freaking sense. For this type of couple, you should have a build-up to that type of scene, to make the payoff feel rewarding as opposed to just a big, Moving on to the plot, the main driver should be Zagan's conflict with the church and the other demon lords, and while those do happen, they're uninteresting. Zagan is just too overpowered for him to feel seriously threatened by anything. All the fights Zagan was in had the potential to be really interesting, but he just crushes all his opposition immediately, with the exception of one fight with the sacred sword Chastity, one of the church's top fighters. That fight ended with Neffy showing that she's also crazy overpowered. A slight improvement, I guess. Intrigue could have also helped the plot forward. There is a group of sorcerers who've been impersonating Zagan while committing vile acts, and this plot thread definitely had potential. But this all goes down the drains when there's a really predictable plot twist revealing who the leader is, and Zagan crushes them immediately. There's just no sense of tension in the story making you want to continue. Finally, for the comedy in this series, well, most of it's like this. Hey, Neffy, here's your room, and oops, there's a guillotine in here. Maybe I'm sending the wrong message. Or, look, we dressed Neffy inappropriately. Or, hey, Chastity is really useless. Truly high-quality humor right here. To be fair, humor is subjective, so maybe some of you will get way more out of it than I did, but Elfried failed to elicit a single chuckle out of me. In conclusion, I absolutely failed to grasp what sort of appeal Elfried could possibly have. That being said, clearly some people like it, so if you happen to be one of those people, please explain to me in the comments why I am so terribly wrong. I look forward to reading your messages. If for whatever reason you want to read this series after seeing this video, then you can pick it up on J-Novel Club. Their translation's quite good and they translate way faster than companies like Yen Press. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers!